ReactOS is still alive.
NVIDIA puts out a $3,000 video card.
Someone hates Pulse more than we do.
And GIMP goes to the Wayland.
It's another great day for Linux, everyone. Let's go. And welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. That's right, we're going to talk Penguin stuff and sauce. Sit back, relax, and really, it's just some of the neat things that we found going on since the last time we spoke. I'm Vince Stone, joined every week by my co-host, one Pedro Mateus.
Hello.
Hey, buddy, what's going on? Anything new with you? I know it's cold. And
yeah, it is cold. Yesterday was actually a minimum of -4 and a maximum of 1 Celsius. So yeah, that was pretty good. Today was a bit warmer because it rained, so got up to 7. Almost summertime here.
7's good. I like it when it gets proper cold. You know, we're talking like from not to like, so you have a high of 6 or 7. Because it resets what, yes, I know somebody in Canada's laughing manically at me going, 6 or 7, you mean shorts weathers.
Yes.
But it does recalibrate because the other day when we were talking Tuesday, when we were playing Meet the Freeman's great series, go check it out. It's like it got up to 10 and I was like, whew, yeah, t-shirt weather, man. So that's a good thing. We got a jam-packed show and I think we should just get into it because Googs went on a killing spree.
Well, they killed another one of their services that admittedly probably a significant chunk of the population was using, which was the Chrome App Store. If you ever use the Apps tab on the Chrome App Store for the dedicated applications that they offered, which were, let's face it, nowadays you can call them glorified Electron apps, well, they're gone. And no one seemed to care. Well, to be honest, I didn't actually see anyone on the internet complaining about this being gone. And I attribute most of that to the fact that, you know, with most Chromebooks, you know, the hardware that actually made use of that functionality, most of the mainstream ones now support Android apps. So with the native Chrome apps gone, people can just use the Android apps, and there's a whole lot more of them just waiting for you. So yeah, I don't really see the point in maintaining the effort and actually duplicating the effort.
I don't think a lot of people were really using it in the first place. So this is definitely going to die out with a whimper. They did talk about the future with the progressive web app overlords, and basically, they think Electron apps just straight up in the browser. You know, no more of this foolery of like, no, it's a program. See, it's not a glorified web page. See, it has an executable technically. And that's what they're pushing for. I really would like to know, because there was the whole, okay, if we can do apps in Chrome OS, why can't we do them on the desktop? Because I'd like to watch my Quickster, my Netflix, and something higher than 720p, which it's limited to on Linux. So I have to go through this rigmarole of Chromecasting it from a tablet to my TV to watch it on TV, because my TV is so old it rhymes with plasma, and you know it's actually just a TV. It doesn't have the smarts built into it. So yeah, I would like to see some of those apps come rolling over, and we could finally have Microsoft Office. Said no one ever.
You could still do that. I'm sure they didn't remove the functionality that if you drag one of your bookmarks into the apps tab on your Chrome browser, you can then just right click and add that as a desktop shortcut and spawn it in its own window. It's like, oh, hey, do DIY Electron.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a plugin for everything now. So
yeah.
It's not really that big a deal. We just thought we'd give it a mention. Goodbye, Chrome apps. We really, honestly, forgot you existed. Have a good time. So this next bit, I'm not going to say it came out of nowhere, but I think we all had the collective like, wait a minute, that's still around?
Yeah, it's still being actively developed. ReactOS 0.4.7 has been released. And the big thing with this release is that they moved from Subversion to GitHub. And apparently, according to their little blog post here, they became the top contributor to project in the Win32 API and OS dev categories. So that should tell you something about the projects currently going on GitHub. It's still good to see that this project is still alive. I remember back when Windows 8 came out and everyone was saying, oh, ReactOS, they're trying to get 100% Windows XP compatibility going. And, well, they're still not there yet. They have made a lot of improvements. You can actually use some of the Windows XP MSS style themes now. They have improved support for 4-bit per pixel games. So, you know, if you really want to play 4-bit games in your ReactOS install, you can. But everything else is still a bit of a crapshoot, so to speak.
I don't know. I mean, it's a thing. What was ReactOS for? Is it just using old Windows applications?
Their initial goal was to attain 100% compatibility with Windows XP. It started back in the Vista days, if I'm not mistaken, because, well, let's face it, everyone hated Vista. So a lot of projects like this came around. Most of them were still using Windows, but ReactOS decided, no, we are going to make our own operating system and get that compatibility going from the ground up. Well, it's 2017 now, and they are still trying.
I say good on them. I mean, projects like this, I know a lot of people say, well, just use it in wine. Well, there's nothing wrong with overkill, okay? And this is next level overkill. Run it in a VM. Just be sporting about it on top of everything else. I've always called it Windows 2000 Simulator, and I think it's nice that the project's still plugging along. Things like this will be useful. There might be that one application that, you'll be able to get to run on ReactOS that mine just can't pull off for whatever moon reason. So more options, the merrier. Good to see everything work. But one thing you'll probably never be able to get it installed on is what we're about to talk about. Because kind of almost a little holy grail, something Linux users have been clamoring for. At least I know in our weird little circle, it's like, give us a good Linux laptop. I don't care if it's ARM powered. I don't care if it's x86. I personally want a tablet, a convertible, something like that. And Qualcomm, HP, Asus, they've all kind of rolled out with this new Snapdragon device, kind of out of nowhere, with the Tech Summit. And they're like, hey, man, HP's got the Envy. It's a 2-in-1, so it's got the tablet thing rocking on. It's a Snapdragon 835 SoC, and these are legitimate pieces of kit, 1920 by 1080 screens, and they're talking like 10-hour battery life on this. Now, it's ARM-based, so you're still able to get up to 8 gigs of RAM in these things, USB 3.1, the Type A's, HDMI ports, micro SD, but and between 600 to 800 wet stinky American caches. No, that's kind of a throw thing. But what we should point out, who was it? One of our beautiful party patrons, Renee. He wrote in on the show notes. That's one of the things you can do as a patron is you get early access to our notes, and we can have a little conversation while we're writing them. He's like, I hate to see this. The ARM UEFI with the Windows lockdown. It's a step up for ARM's viability laptop workstation platform. And he says, sadly, without that MS key and a whole lot of hassle, he doesn't believe we're going to see Linux on these. Now, you compared it to the RT, that thing that Microsoft would love everyone to forget that it never happened. Never happened.
No. But yeah, it's the Surface RT, you may remember back in the day. That was Microsoft's attempt at a ARM-based tablet laptop-ish thing. It was a Surface tablet for all intents and purposes, but instead of the x86 Intel processor, it had an ARM-based what have yous. I can't even remember now. And it ran Windows RT, which, as Renee mentioned in the little comments in the show notes, it was very much locked down to the point where it would be a major hassle for you to actually get Linux running on it. And this new generation of products, sure, the Windows Store isn't as bad now as it used to be back in the Windows 8 days. They actually have some games and some stuff in the Windows Store now, but you're not really going to be playing Gears of War 4 on your hybrid tablet.
No, you're not.
With the universal Windows apps.
Predator and Sheldon brought up a good point. Is like, how are they going to get that battery life with the emulation? Because that's something we need to point out is on Windows anyway, there things inside the Windows Store select apps, x86 apps, are going to run on ARM via emulation. So I don't know. I don't know how expensive that emulation is going to be. But I think unlike the RT, this is a device people want. So
is it?
Yeah, it is, Pedro. It is. Trust me.
Is it because it doesn't have Android apps? It doesn't have any of that. Most of your Windows applications,
don't need it. Don't need it because we're going to put Linux on it.
You can't. That's the problem.
You see, this is the problem with Portugal as a whole. That mentality right there. You can't. It's like, since when has that?
You can. It's not feasible. It's not exactly the feasible thing that you expect from when you buy even an x86 tablet. Those are already a bit of an extra step when it comes to installing something that's not Windows on it.
Oh, please. All of those, I've heard it. Oh, they're locked down. You can't do anything. Oh, the PS4, you can't hack it. You can't play DVDs under Linux. Oh, no, you can't play UHD video under Linux. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I can give you, listen, do not tango with Linux users. Don't tell them they can't do something because they will surprise you every single time and they will win and you will lose.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, but we've seen it with the Surface RT. How many Surface RTs are floating around out there?
What part of this is something people actually want? Or are you just fading on?
Is it? No, that's my question.
Pedro, I just told you. I've given you the word event.
Okay, fair enough.
Jeez. I'm glad we finally see eye to eye now. 9 to 5 Google, ladies and gentlemen. Chrome 63 rolling out to Mac, Windows, and Linux. So I just wanted to give this a quick mention because I like playing around with the flags because flags are awesome and they have given it quite the nice, tidy little redesign. So finally, a nice, super clean interface that will allow you to break Chrome in new and interesting ways. And yeah, they're all there. I'm sure there's some other features in that business too, but go play around with that because a lot of like your GL canvases and stuff like that, web RTC acceleration, a lot of that stuff is cut off by default. And I shouldn't say surprisingly, but a lot of it works without a hitch.
Yeah.
So
if you're using the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, you can just enable all of that, and you'll probably be fine. If you have like an Intel GPU or an AMD GPU and you're using the Mesa drivers, that can be a bit hit or miss when you enable that stuff and Chrome just starts crashing at that point. That's why safe mode is there. You just start it in safe mode, disable those flags again, and you're back in business. But yeah, they introduced the new UI for GPU flags, and if you are one of those people for some reason watching the Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays show on a Mac, you also have some material redesigns for Chrome, so that's something, I guess.
And go take a look at it. All this business will be in our show notes, our extensive detailed show notes at linuxgamecast.com. Or if you're watching this on the wherever you're watching it, there will be a description in the bottom with a link. So we touched on this Saturday, and
yes, we did.
Honestly, in a strange way, it's more appropriate for this show. And yes, we're talking about the $3,000 video card from NVIDIA.
Oh yes,
the Titan V, and go ahead. You didn't highlight any stories in the notes, so I don't know where you're at.
Yes, since there's just the two of us, I assume the non-highlighted ones were mine.
Assumptions, ladies and gentlemen, getting shows done since 2012.
But yeah, it's the Titan V. As you know, you've probably heard of it. It's been all over the news this week because it's a $3,000 video card. And if you're thinking, wait a second, that's just an NVIDIA Titan V. There's no GTX, there's no GeForce. None of that branding is there. That's because this isn't a gaming card. This isn't a GeForce line card. This is the new Titan line.
Well, Pedro, you got to understand the confusion here because they see the display ports and the HDMI, therefore gaming card.
You could probably use this for gaming. We're still waiting on there are already a few websites out there that have some gaming comparisons. It's not painting a pretty picture. Again, that comes back to the whole, this isn't a gaming card. It doesn't have the GeForce or the GTX branding on it. So, hey, if you're paying $3,000 for a GPU, chances are you probably know what you're doing.
Well, I think one of the interesting things I saw, because you were 9,000% right, by NVIDIA going, totes not a gaming card, guys, followed by wink. Because everyone I've seen that's hands-on benchmark this thing, and I've only seen it done under Windows, this thing spanks everything else handily.
Yeah, which it is to be expected.
Exactly. Listen, $3,000, that's above what I would consider even an enthusiast level for, but it's an incredibly good deal for what it's being released for, is a consumer level Tesla card, because the bandwidth on this critter, it's been neutered to 653 gigabytes a second. And that's due to the 3072 memory bit bus width, compared to like 900 gigabytes a second on the Tesla V100. So air quotes around poor man's Tesla V100. But NVIDIA is really trying to push this and sell this as, a comp card, computational card for AI research simulation for a workstation, as opposed to farms of these things. And there's definitely a market for that, but it is kind of curious how NVIDIA is also like, no, it's not a gaming card. No. Don't game with it.
It's not a gaming card, but let's say you have this crusty old 1080 what Martin Wimpress gave me. Thank you very much, Martin. Let's see, that has an output of 9 teraflops. While this one, on the other hand, 110 teraflops. Yeah, that's going to curb anything you could possibly throw.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's not a gaming card. It's got 3 display ports on it, though, because multi-screen monitor setups and not for.
It is a workstation card. If you're trying to make that argument, you could probably justify those. It doesn't have a DVI port though, so it's just the one HDMI, 3 display ports. It is very much focused on compute workloads, CUDA, what have yous, and it is using HBM2. So if the folks behind cryptocurrency can figure out how to use HBM2 to its full potential when it comes to hash mining, well, I think these are going to sell out very quickly, even at $3,000, which, again, $3,000? Has NVIDIA gone on long enough without competition to
No, I mean, if you, again, this sounds expensive until you compare it to the V100, which starts at $10,000. So
it's a Tesla, though. It is; those have always been expensive.
As soon as you put it in perspective with This is a budget V100 for 3,000 versus 10,000. Like, that's not a bad deal. You just get perspective there. And it's good that it can game, because there's definitely people out there that are going to, I've seen them on Reddit already. Ooh, look what I got. And I listen, I feel you, sis. I feel you, bro, on the bragging rights. But that's too rich for my blood. System 76 did something kind of neat, something I'm interested in. We're kind of talking about displays, high DPI. This can genuinely be a problem, and they just call it high DPI. It's been released. It's in POP right now, the operating system that they're grooving out to, making it a thing. So let's say you got one of those newfangled, sparkly 3840 by 2160 displays. A lot of people have them. Listen to the show, myself included. And you want to plug that into, your 1080p, 720p, laptop, vice versa, move it around, whatever. This has been a problem under Linux. They're trying to sort it with a setup with a high DPI mode that detects it and is like, yo, man, I'm gonna shut the DPI on the UHD monitor to this, but this one's not gonna get all blown up in mice typey. And that is a wicked, wicked, wicked good thing. I mean, absolutely has my attention. Couldn't find the repo for it. I got to dig around. System 76 has definitely been doing some good work in these areas right here and sending stuff upstream. Good on you. For other people, I mean, this is something I definitely want to strider this technology and apply it for my own use, because I have UHD, I have 720 plus. They're higher than 720. They're big laptop monitors effectively, but desktop monitors, and 1080. Surprisingly, XFCE4 out of the box handles high DPI reasonably well, but with separate X screens, one of the issues I run into, if it was just one monitor, no problem whatsoever, because you can just set your DPI scaling to whatever you want. The problem with separate X screens, you got to be a little with it, because it changes that DPI across all 4 monitors I have.
Yeah, and that is actually a problem not just with XFCE, but basically every single desktop environment out there right now on X. If you're on Wayland, you already have KWin doing that per display high DPI. Or whatever DPI you happen to have. But it is finally very good to see that System 76 are working on. Let's say you bought a 13.3-inch laptop from System 76, and it comes with a 3840 by 2160 teeny tiny display with, at 13 inches UHD display, you're going to have to use some scaling functionality. And let's say you then plug that onto a projector because you're running a presentation, or you have that separate monitor. When you come home, you plug that into the external monitor and you want to play some games on it or whatever. Well, now you don't have to either adjust that DPI scaling as you plug it in. It actually detects what you're doing and what resolution that other monitor has and sets the DPI accordingly, which is good because that way you don't have to sacrifice 3 goats to the elder gods on a waxing gibbous in a leap year.
So, end of the day, short story, what does this do? You can plug in a bunch of different monitors and they should scale accordingly. In theory, I look forward to playing with it. Again, not necessarily something I need, something I kind of want. And kind of like this next story, because this guy really wants Pulse Audio never to happen. He's probably building a time machine, and he's like, I got a plan, because, that's
he actually says as much. Because this comes from the Code Laboratorium website, and you can see, I forget his name. He goes by Nuclear. That's what he posts at, and he was complaining that the new Firefox got rid of the ALSUP backend that it had, and it now just uses Pulse Audio. And since he is one of those people that genuinely hates Pulse Audio and apparently genuinely hates lettered pottering, don't blame him on that one. He decided, it's like, okay, I gotta do something about this. And he said that he always maintained that if everyone switches to Pulse Audio, he would always make a Pulse wrapper over
Yeah,
ALSA.
but didn't it turn out somebody who's
someone
already
else
did
did.
most of the work for him? I mean, this is a lot to do about nothing. Okay, 100%. I have several legitimate issues with Pulse. I do. But also, it's 2017. Coming into 2018. So, you learn to live. This is the future. Okay, I get it. Also, I loved you. We had a lot of sexy time, in the 2000s, in the 90s. We were good. I can't get wound up because something doesn't support ALSA anymore. I really, genuinely can't. And one of the things he says, like, this is your sticking point. Like, once you read this line, you're like, oh, all right, apt, remove Pulse Audio. Like, this is going to happen. He says, Pulse noms like 10% more battery. How do you put...
Van, you do know that 97% of all percentage numbers you see on the internet are made up on the spot.
Incorrect. Right? It is 94.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
I just made that up.
This is, yeah, so did I. This is someone with a one-track mind, and I guess that's a good thing, because if he really likes ALSA, he can only listen to one stream per device, unless he down-mixes everything into the one stream. So, unless something actually does come along to make him move on, we won't see that from him specifically, but... most of Pulse Audio's problems nowadays actually stem from the ALSA compatibility layer. Unless you really do have a gripe with Leonard Pottering, which I get. Again, I get. But the moment that archaic piece of crap that is the ALSA plugin for Pulse Audio is dropped and it doesn't work anymore, I'm pretty sure Pulse Audio will use much less battery than it does now. Let's say 11%. I made that one up too.
Yeah, listen, I held out. I held on to ALSA for way too long. And once we started getting into the show, it's either Jack or it's Pulse. You can't do what we're doing right now with ALSA. And I know somebody who's like, yes, you can. It's like, no, you can't. I don't know a lot about a lot of stuff, but that's something I'll fight you on. And that's the thing. But if you like your Firefox... and you like your ALSA, I guess it's like the Bibles and the guns. He has a solution for you. You can now hear again. But on the topic of audio, we all got this. It confused some people more than the others, and that is the 12.11.17 changelog for Discord. It's what we use for patrons because, we like to have a special place we can hide out and be ourselves the other 6 days of the week. They got some stuff in here that Discord overlay systems, blah, blah, blah. I noticed there's a Linux settings section on it now. But the thing I want to talk about is they decided to get rid of what they called it themselves, the RNG element of setting your input devices on Discord. They decided that wasn't a fun game everyone wanted to play. And this is a real issue with Discord and a lot of Electron apps, even Ring that we're using right now for audio video communicate, is okay. If you got one, you see you got an internal and an external, that's fine. When I start throwing like 6 DACs at it, it just pieces out. It's like sound card, I don't know what, I'm not even enumerate them.
Which one?
Right. And hey, it works now, and this is a good thing. I mean, the easy solution, I would say to us or somebody who's been dealing with audio, crack open Pavu control, and you just go to your input. But when you think about that, that's not something your average user should ever have to think about or worry about. It's bad enough they're already in the settings in Discord. But yeah, that's the thing. That's an update, and I'm glad it's there. Did you have any problems getting it installed?
I did, because the teeny tiny update window that it spawns when you first launched the old version after this update was out, give you this teeny tiny window. It's like, oh, there's a new update. Do you want to download the deb, the RPM, the tar.gz, whatever? The moment I hit the download button, the window would disappear. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on because it was still running in the background. It wasn't actually downloading anything. It was just there hidden in the background somewhere. It was an incompatibility between that teeny tiny window that was an Electron window that wanted to manage itself and Kwin saying, no, I'm the window manager. I'm in charge here. You give me that window or else it's going to go away. And it went away. So I just went to the website, downloaded it, installed it. It works. And it doesn't do that thing. I guess that is part of the picking the correct input stream out of whatever it is you pick in the settings. Because it doesn't do that thing where I join a room and it just doesn't give any audio coming from me. I have to mute myself first, then unmute myself, and then people can hear me. So that's been fixed, and hey, Discord just keeps on getting better.
It is a shining example of what I like to hold an Electron, a stinky Electron rep done okay-ish. I'm going to say great, because Electron, it's modern day Java. It should die.
It's still Electron, yeah.
Right. I can't give it praise, but it was like, it's all right. I mean, it can come to the club with me is what I'm saying, but not too close, you know. That's definitely the thing. So GIMP, the development version, which is made out of nothing but spite and nightmare fuel, which is great because they're like, this thing's going to break, push it out. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And 298 is out. I just wanted to touch on this. A couple things on canvas gradient editing. Like, meh, all right, I don't know a lot about gradients. Clip warnings, business like this. They have implemented, though. Well, they got the color management stuff in there, but what I'm interested in is this right here. Wayland support. They've implemented the screenshots for the KDE Wayland setup, the color picker widget. This also works with KDE Wayland, and the paste thing, paste in place, which it's like, oh, you can do that. This is a handy tool. I mean, you should theoretically be able to paste contents of your clipboard at the exact coordinates it was originally copied from. That's neat because I'm lazy.
Yeah. And if you have two images that are exactly the same size and you want to, say, cut out a little bit of one picture and then post it on another at those exact coordinates, if you had been using GIMP at any point till now, you know that it probably centered it. It's like, oh, that's centered on the image. That's not where I want it. But they are working on that, and they actually give you that functionality. They also fixed some of the little widget boxes, like the opacity and the size of the brush that you're using. If you ever try to increase and reduce those, I can imagine what Empty goes through on a weekly basis with the Linux Gamecast weekly show art. They fixed that, and it actually gives you a much more granular control over those widgets. So that's awesome. So yeah, no, I'm all for GIMP actually pushing out 2.10. They've been promising that for a long while, and they're making progress. So that's good to see.
And it's good to see larger apps coming like this. And it's like, all right, we're getting this Wayland thing down. It's slow, but it's definitely going to happen. And I always get a good laugh anytime I screenshot when I'm doing any work in GIMP. Like, it's never fails. It will be that one person. You know, there's a single window mode, right? I use default GIMP, but it's like, you know that I've learned how to use this over the past 13 years like this, and the single window mode don't make sense to my old brain. So that's a thing. Yeah. All right. So way back when, there used to be these things, children gather round. Uncle Vin's going to tell you a tale. The long ago. And we called them DVDs. Now, these DVDs, they had encryption on them. What was it, CSS? No, what's it?
CSS, yes.
CSS encryption. There was this dude who was like, yo, man, I want to watch DVDs in my Linux box. Short story long, he did. And so, and therefore, so could we all. We're kind of seeing round two with this because AACS 2.0 copy protection on Ultra HD Blu-ray disc has a major easy to exploit loophole. Yeah, the volume keys, they're out. They've been leaked. So you're like, oh my God, piracy. While all the Linux users going, oh my God, I can actually watch UHD Blu-rays that I paid for. That's neat. The loophole, that was a non-revoked AACS 1.0 host certificate. So yeah, that's absolutely the thing. This web zone, this will be in our show notes, is UHD BD friendly drives that if you buy them in the box and you don't update them, you'll be able to play the media that you legally purchased with these drives, with VLC or anything alike. And there's a couple of them. They're not terribly expensive. And, well, here's the thing. This could actually get me to install a spinny drive in one of my systems for the first time, long time. I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute. I went digging around. I got The Martian and I have John Wick on UHD Blu-ray.
All right.
Neither of these packages have been opened, Pedro.
I can't fathom why.
They're very much still in their shrink wrap. Mind you, I have watched both of these titles. Hashtag ethical piracy. But here's the thing, man. Like UHD 4K, whatever you want to call it this week, it has built-in copy protection. It's called file size. And no, I'm not talking about storage because you just said, Vin, storage is cheap. Who's worried? These things are only like 45 to 50 gigs a movie. It's like, no, Brad. We're not talking about storage. We're talking about your download speed. How long is it going to take you to get them?
Yeah, you can probably get one of those crappily encoded ones off of the local video store for like 4 gigs, but that's going to look worse than DVDs, if we're being honest, at that high resolution with that small size. It's not going to look as good, Brad. That said, it is kind of awesome to see just, it's an outdated libac in conjunction with the leaked volume keys. Yeah, everyone gets to watch UHD movies now because, well, it's a proprietary format.
And you can be a horrible human being for wanting to make use of the stuff that you've legally purchased.
Yeah.
And, why is this still a thing? It's almost 2018.
I don't know.
Movie theaters. Don't tango with Linux users. You will lose. Every time. So I don't know if you'd want to call this good news, bad news, sideways news, but
news.
I honestly think we could say this is an example of open source working like it's supposed to, right?
Yes, it is. So this is Valentina, the Valentina fork. You may remember a little software called Valentina, which was a free pattern-making software for fashion designers. And at one point, the team that was working on it split off. And you had Susan Spencer on one side, and you had Roman Telezinski from Ukraine on the other. And you had the two of them. They kind of forked the project. Susan went to do her own thing. Roman went to do his own thing. And Roman has actually been putting out updates. The source code is available. You can actually see how many commits he's been doing to him and his team have been doing to the repository. And Susan, on the other hand, has been making these bold claims that she has some programmers and she has some things. And they've been making a lot of progress, but they ran into a few snags here and there.
Well, the small flag that I saw that every single programmer on her team is somehow they can't do anything right now.
Yes, personally indisposed, as it were. So yeah, no, there's a big snafu there, and some things that Susan's been claiming is actually stuff that the team under Roman have been working on and have been putting out the source for. So there's definitely, I guess this is probably the best example of fragmentation in an open source project, because you have two completely disparate teams working on the exact same thing, because all they want to do is keep the Valentina software up and running, because hey, we don't really have a lot of pattern making software when it comes to.
Well, the biggest issue with pattern making software is when you think about it and you look into it. I mean, the low budget stuff, we're talking like $500 to $1,000 software packages. They're junk compared to Valentina.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for stuff that actually gets the job done, that's the type of software you don't ask the price of. And it's usually designed for things like Jukies, which are massive, like 8-loop machines that do t-shirts and stuff like that. But you definitely see cosplayers, Renaissance, things along those lines. People using this to design costumes and stuff like that. That's good. And to get back to what I started with, okay, let it fork, man. I mean, may the victor survive. And it doesn't matter how this plays out unless you just like the train wreckiness of it. But, there's the whole thing. It's like, hey, who remembers X386? Oh, let's get a little weirder. Who remembers Barrel?
Yeah.
But projects survive, man. We got Xorg, and we have Compton, Compiz, and all of that fun stuff. Hey, man, that was fun. Let's take a hot break to thank the people that make this show possible. You can
Indeed. So if you are one of those lovely, lovely people who not only keep watching us on a regular basis, but you actively contribute to make this show and the Saturday show and all the weekly streams, what we do, possible, well, you probably already know how to provide that much support. But this
105
week,
beautiful patrons, and we got a new one.
Yes. Yes, we do. Joel Watson. Thank you very much, Joel. And I guess since we are on the Patreons, we might as well just get it out of the way. Yes, Patreon did a thing earlier this week, or earlier last week, just after we were done with Linux Weekly Wednesdays, for that matter. And they said that from now on, the fees from the payment methods that the patrons were actually giving the creators, those fees would no longer be paid by the creators themselves. There would just be a flat 5% that Patreon would take out of the money that the creator was making, and all those fees would be the responsibility of the people who are actually contributing to those projects. And that caused a big uproar. There was a lot of people who lost a lot of supporters because, hey, people are fine with giving those creators money if that they have an idea that money is in fact going to Patreon first and then to the creators. But if they have to fork the cash for that fee up front,
listen, man, listen, Pedro, no. We did an entire video that was 20 minutes long on this. If you want the skinny, if you want the skinny, go back and watch it. It's on our Patreon page. Basically, it's like the Fonz. We're cool. Jack went, all right, yeah, this is screwed up. This is affecting everyone negatively. He did kind of what I was like, yo, man, Jack is one of us. He's a creator. Point blank. And I was like, don't do your knee-jerk reactions. Everyone, I know you get the panic out of your system. Let's come back and regroup. We've regrouped. Everything's copacetic now. Nothing to worry about. But, yeah, that was definitely a wild experience. And it's good to see a company come back and actually fix something and go, okay, yeah.
We done goofed is basically the sum up of the blog post that they made. And they, I think it was actually Jack who wrote, it was Jack Conte who wrote the post. And he goes in and he says, okay, we wanted to do this and we wanted to do that. And we didn't realize just how much that impacted those people who were only giving, say, $1 to each project that they backed.
Pedro.
Because that was a significant chunk.
I agree with you, man. Like I said, we've explained this twice already.
Yeah.
But to go through the whole thing, I'm not trying to cut Pedro off. I'm just like, we've done this. This is over. We just be talking about it.
And they realize this too. That's it. So yeah, everything is going to stay as it is for the time being. And once they have a new idea and they say that they're actually going to talk to the creators now on how best to get those fees, to find out what is the best way for someone to eat those fees, because they have to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
You're still dealing with Stripe, you're still dealing with PayPal, so that will be a thing for the future, but they will include the creators in those decisions from now on, which is something they should have done from the start.
So, what does this mean? Nothing's changing.
Nothing so far, yeah.
At the end of the day, our strategization was, okay, we'd go over to monthly. Really didn't want to go over the monthly because doing it per creation keeps us honest. If we don't put out a show, you don't get charged. And with a monthly model, I don't like that. That means, okay, you're just going to pay for a month and we put out something, you pay for a month. We don't put out anything, you still pay for the month. And that's not the way we like to roll. We like to dance for our supper. We plan on continuing to dance for our supper and keep it rocking on. We got some ideas. We got some plans. I think 2 people in chat room right now heard us talk about it last night after Meet the Freemans. And big things planned for 2018. Now that this is settled, I feel a little more comfortable actually sitting down and working out the financials to do this and the people we're going to need to do this. And it's going to be a massive undertaking. So brace yourselves for that also. Thank you for everyone who's shopping through our Amazon wish list. We know it's coming up on Doctor Who Day. It's almost Doctor Who Eve. Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season, right, for the Doctor Who special. And if you're buying stuff, thank you for tapping on our referral buttons. We get a little taste of that action. It's super sweet. And it does add up. Remember, we had a Deutschland. Come on. Hook me up. Rudy hooked me up. I know you did. I saw what you did, man. I went back and checked it to make sure it was working. And there it was. And we got a Wish Zone on the Amazons. I bought a lot of stuff last week. That's why, like, even Saturday, I was like, really, patron? Because spin a check, because we don't use the wish list. Like, oh, please, I hope people buy stuff. It's like, all right, we're buying this stuff. If you want to beat us to it, bring it. We dare you. Double dare you. And we're getting that will done. That's cool. That's awesome. Thank you. You are our bosses, and you keep us from doing ads, so we can just be honest with you. We don't have to ever do shady stuff. Like, I don't even know. I'm not good at being shady. I talk too much. That's a problem. It makes me want to slice pie, Pedro.
Oh, yes. Slice of pie. And, well, I guess to start us off, we have a pie-like project. So this is the Libre Computer Renegade. And it is a Raspberry Pi sort of promise, because it's not an actual product yet. With it has a very similar cost of entry right now at $35. It has USB 3, it has gigabit Ethernet, and it supposedly will let you run Ubuntu 16.04 like the Pi already does, Android 7.1 like the Pi already does. It has 3 gigs of RAM. It has an eMMC interface. If for some reason you have an eMMC dedicated storage unit that you want to use, you can do that. But this one isn't actually out right now. As Van pointed out in the show notes, this is an Indiegogo, and they have flexible funding enabled.
Yeah, man. I gotta definitely say warning with Indiegogo with the flex funding, because A, that means they couldn't get on Kickstarter because they don't have a functioning prototype. B, flex funding means if they don't hit their goal, it looks like they're going to hit their goal, 8,900. Now, when I say that, that's just a warning I say to anything. I'm not saying these guys are sketch. Not at all. I'm just saying that you need to be aware of the rules of engagement when you back stuff like this. When you're doing stuff on crowdfunding, you're not buying a product. You're buying promissory notes that, hey, man, I'm going to give you some money. Maybe you get back to me on that. Most of the time, it usually works out several years down the road. I like the idea. I mean, because this would be the first SBC with up to 4 gigs. And like for the 4 gigs of DDR4, they're only asking like 70 wet stinky caches for that board. And that would be including gigabit. Giga?
Gigabit.
Jeez, man. I don't know, man. New word.
It's even more giga.
It's gigaerbit. And USB 3.0. So then again, why do you need that much power in such a little package? Just
Let's say you want to turn that old dumb TV you have in your living room into a smart TV that, I don't know, maybe play some H.265 4K content.
okay,
You can.
maybe you can say
do
that
it.
with its ability to decode H.265. But
And it is one of those teeny tiny Raspberry Pi sized SoCs, which they will get a lot of use if they can actually deliver on their Indiegogo campaign. And when I click through the link, oh, they launched a crowdfunding campaign, flexible funding on Indiegogo. Right, I was going to give you $35 or like £30, whatever that translates to right now. I was going to give you that money right now, and that right there stopped me. No. So I will wait and see if they actually put out a product, not a promise.
Pennywise, yeah, this piece of kit would be good for retro gaming if you consider the PS3 retro gaming. So
Yes. This will probably, if RPCS3 actually puts out an ARM version of their emulator, oh, it'll play it. It will play it, no problems.
that's a thing. Hey, man, we all like violating our Pi's GPIO expanders, and this is a new, fun, fresh, and funky way to get about it, because you can now easily access a Pi Zero's GPIO pins from your x86 laptop without using SSH. I know some people have irrational fears as SSH. That's a real thing, man. Every day's a struggle. Ethernet computer running, I always mess this up, PIGPIO, PIGPIO. It will provide you with remote GPIO pins via USB, man. I mean, you can have a gang of projects running on different Pis, controlling it all from one computer. It just shows up as like, boom, there it is, right there, man. It's like virtual devices. That's cool. You just click expansion board. That's it. I've never really done. I've walked into the garage with the intention of automating things in the house with the Pis. That's as far as I got, because it's like, come on, squirrel. I'm just actively looking for anything other than to go down that rabbit hole. Which,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with the GPIO pins on a Raspberry Pi. You just have to get down and dirty, giggity, when it comes to actually getting the hardware and the software to work with the hardware. That's just makes it all the more easier.
that's
Literally,
wicked simple. My
it's
first thought was, man, I could terrorize my neighbors at Christmas next year, because doing the automated singing Christmas light things,
Yeah.
yeah, I could just sit here and control the whole jazz without worrying about anything. They already hate me.
Yeah, no, it is an awesome everything that expands, and I guess that is in the name there. It expands that Raspberry Pi functionality that you get with the GPIO pins or the GPIO holes in the Raspberry Pi Zero. That's just bonus soda as far as I'm concerned.
So, we're done talking to you, and we do like to give you a chance to talk to us real quick. Head over to linuxgamecast.com. That's our home base for everything we do. Hit the contact button. Had to get onto a game developer today. Just sent me an email directly. It's like, yo, here's the link to that. Please use that. That's the thing, because this is how we keep track and make sure we don't miss anything. Yeah, you can leave a YouTube comment. No promises, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll try to get to it if we see it. We got relationship advice for our Saturday show, maybe another upcoming show. This show, LGC Weekly, if you want to do if you just have some weird, bizarre thing that doesn't fit anywhere, throw it in there. We love to talk to you. If things we got wrong, or just questions about Linux in general that you can't figure out, you can't find the answers to Google. On Google. We want those questions. We want the ones that stump Google. That way we can just straight up make things up and you can't prove us wrong. It'll be great.
You can't call us out on it.
It'll be brilliant. Coming up first, the Jess, not to be confused with not the Jess or the real Jess. It says Pop. Yo, do either of you have plans to install Pop OS and possibly review it? Question mark. Is it better than Ubuntu? I'm guessing stock Ubuntu. Lazy minds do in fact want to know, to your first question, do I ever plan on installing it? To retort would be, no.
Yeah, pretty much. I would mind they do have a PPA. So I probably wouldn't be opposed to installing the PPA and trying some of the packages that they have available on a regular Ubuntu installation, especially the high DPI thing if they ever release it. System 76, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Outside of that, no. Is it better than Ubuntu? It is based on Ubuntu. It is quite literally a PPA on top of Ubuntu with those packages pre-installed.
What's the thing? I mean, if you got, I think Linux Nero ordered, he's got one headed to Tanzania in the next few days. He just ordered a new Lappy. Yeah. That'll be something for him to play around with. I don't have anything against it, but I do have things like this is kind of custom tailored for their hardware. So they do have some optimizations in the packages that they have in their PPA specifically for that. Right. I'm not saying you can't install it. I'm just saying, listen, that thing inside of your brain that wants to argue about every gosh darn thing just kicked in, Pedro, because.
Of course it did. It's what it does.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm trying to save it from yourself, man. LGC cares. It's you can absolutely put it on anything you want. And it should work out of the box, but it comes down to, I had somebody today. It's like, I'm running Kali Linux, and it's like, why? I mean, I get it if you want to. That's great. I support you. You want to be like Strider? Strider put Pop OS on whatever his old Intel thing he has.
Yeah.
And you know what? I personally will go, why? But I support your right to do it. That's cool. Rock on. But what you don't do is ask me for tech support. Because then I'll look at you sideways and say, peace. No, I just disappear, man. That's how that works. What's this last one about?
This last one comes from David, and he's asking us to sound off. Our promised studio tour. Really want an explanation of your setup. XOXO. So kisses and hugs.
Yeah, exactly, Pedro. Where's that studio tour? I've been waiting on it.
What studio? I have literally a dinner table that I repurposed as my desk.
Sounds like excuses.
I have no studio.
Sounds like excuses,
I think
man.
he's aiming that one directly at you.
Nah, man. Don't point. It's polite. I might have mentioned that. Yeah, all right. That's something that's in the works. 100%. It's on my whiteboard. Once something's on my whiteboard, like legitimate, it's a real whiteboard too. It's going to get done. Here's the thing, because yeah, all right. A lot of people have like not really the studio so much. Like, show us how the audio noodles are plugged in. Now we want to see how that works and how the thing goes into there. So our audio chain business is currently in a state of flux right now, Brad. We kind of got thrown a multiple curveballs because the mixer that we really wanted didn't have a feature in it that we found out about at the last minute. So we ended up getting a different mixer. Didn't save any. Well, we saved money because we had managed to find it on an open box, but regular price, it was the same price. Then Skype shot us in the ankles after hitting us in the kneecap with that. Yeah. So that took us down. Then there was some functionality in that XR12 that we got to add that back in order to do this other thing later on down the road. And that's the Behringer Euphoria on our wish zone right now. That's like why I call it the shopping list. That, hopefully after December rolls around, we'll have the jingle jangle to pick up that Euphoria to do what we need to do, some of that magic. The reason I just brought all that up is, like, even if I did a tour right now and showed everyone's like, this works with this is how this works, and showed the software side of it, if I did one of those 2 weeks ago, it would not be valid today, right now. Yeah. I would say, remember the thing I showed you 2 weeks ago? Forget it. That was just hocus pocus, which is going to happen until we get the Euphoria in, which is going to add, like, really our last bit with multi-track recording. It's going to make everyone's life better. It's going to make it sound better, and it's going to let us get on more people. But once that's done, I'm thinking no later than mid-January. I promise you, bosses, our patrons, I promise you, you will get a video, and it will be so detailed, it will put you to bed. Guaranteed.
What Ven's saying there is that it will probably be a bit boring.
But I'm going to get Pedro to narrate it.
Okay, extra boring then.
but he's just going to get wrecked beforehand, though. So.
Oh yeah, that's just got some.
Then on top of that, like the subtitle track is, I'm just going to go back and pull out. Last time Strider was wrecked on the after show, I'm going to see what Google, whatever Google came up with, and the closed captioning. I'm just going to put that in the subtitles.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
LGC cares, ladies and gentlemen. That's been us. That's been real. It's been fun. We did another show, another hour of what you might accidentally confuse with entertainment and/or educational stuff. Come check us out Thursday. We don't know what's going on. No idea. Spooky times. I might even have to recruit some of you. Might have to recruit Pedro because Jordan might have something he has to do on Thursdays.
I think that's next week, though.
It might be next week.
This week is fine.
I don't know. Listen, this is us we're talking about. I'll find out tomorrow.
You'll know. Yeah.
It will be a thing. So, we're going to tap this off because it's time to hit the credits.
Ooh, all you lovely, lovely people get.
That's just me, Pedro. What are you talking about? There's you.
No. Yes, that's me. But
there's everyone else in Chat Realm.
Chat Realm dynamic.
And we get our executive producers.
We get the executive producers. Yes.
Regular producers.
And all the producers and every single one of you who keep making this insanity, what we call Linux Gamecast Weekly and Linux Weekly Little Wednesdays, possible. You lot are awesome. And Joel Watson's there too now. Because he's awesome too.
Sorry, Joel. I don't think you got in under the wire when I made the credits. We'll get you next week, man. Get you on Saturday, too.
Yeah.
Also, not impressed by that show.